rights activist and AAC presidential candidate, SOWERE. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to our people out there.
Arguably not very surprising turn of events that we're seeing. And I said initially that it seems like this is the way things have been done for a long time. It's a culture of corruption. It's a culture of sleaze. The only challenge that we have here is that this one leaked. Do you agree with that, or do you think that the president is just unfortunate to have these bits and pieces here and there that are tainting his image?
No, at all. This is what they came to do. They came to take care of themselves, and that's what they went to work to do. And you can tell that if you follow the trajectory of how they got here, apparently Beta Edu was reporting on her predecessor, telling on the stories of how she was stealing money, and the EFCC was busy tracking. I think that was a distraction. Why she took a page from her book of sleaze and started her own scams. But there's nothing new here. This is what these guys and these major political parties are all about. It's about taking care of themselves, taking money, sharing among themselves. So there's nothing surprising there. And what you're getting is the usual showboating. The administration needs to prove that they're not as bad as people make them feel. So you see some suspension here and there. But I don't know of anywhere within the administration or the regime that there is no sleaze going on. So these guys are a bunch of sleaze bags.
Is this indicative of the president's ability to, quote-unquote, select the right people? Because that was one of the things that they argued,
There's no way to get the right people when you are not the right person.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's move away from that conversation and talk about Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo and his involvement, unfortunately, in this report. He's been praised.
Why do you say it's unfortunate?
Why I say unfortunately is because of all the ministers that we've had, he's one of the ministers that has come highly praised because of the reforms he's making. Because
it's giving you passports that you paid for, that you're entitled to. No, you see, this is part of our problem as a people. There's so much mediocrity in our system, that we take for granted that these people are appointed or elected to do some jobs. And when they do it, you start praising them. This is what they are appointed to do. You have several ministries under the Interior Affairs, you have prisons, you have all kinds of problems in the country. So the minister is not actually supposed to be in charge of handing out passports. That's the job of the Immigration Department. And if that is happening, that is what should be happening. Nobody should be denied of their passport. So if you're getting your passport, why do you praise the minister?
Well, because what was there before, there were people there, there were ministers there before, and what was obtainable was marred with corruption.
Do you know that in other parts of the world, I'm not talking about even the West now, here in Africa, people get passports mailed to their houses, they apply for it online, and you get it in the mail. You get your passport in the US from the post office. I don't know who the minister or the secretary is in the US that is in charge of handing out passports. I know the postmaster in my area who does that. And if you want to get a passport and I'm not in town, they will ask me as the father of my kids to go to the embassy here to approve that they can get a passport. So it's a seamless process, and that's what it should be. That's what we pay for. But we are not even talking about the security of the passport. Who are the people producing the Nigerian passport? You don't even know. It's somewhere in Singapore or, I don't know, somewhere in the Middle East or Asia. So nobody's talking about that. We're not in control and in charge of any of these things. But we're here praising a guy who is just came into office and letting passport get to you, something you desire. But we still have prisoners who are underfed, wrong people detained and imprisoned that we're not talking about. The Immigration Department is just one of the departments under the Internal Affairs Ministry. So the minister's hand is caught in a cookie jar, and you don't want us to talk about it because you're getting passports that you should get. That's what I'm saying that because you said it's unfortunate. There's nothing unfortunate. He knew about this. Why was it that the contract, why was it not given to you? Because they're all part of the sleaze that's going on. And this is not the first time. There was an allegation against this guy that he didn't even have NYC. He produced one, special NYC discharge certificate. I don't have one, and I can't produce one, but I completed my NYC years ago. But they said he diverted money that was meant for southern part of Ondo State to his own part of the state. Nobody is asking about that. They're talking about, oh, he came, he's doing passports. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the resources of the country that's being looted by these people. And sometimes I think they deliberately get us involved in this whole conversation so that we are distracted from serious socio-political issues in the country. So every regime that comes around, we fire somebody at the beginning of the regime and make it look as if, they call them fall guys, and then you make it look as if they are serious, and then you forget about the real issues. And before you know it, you keep, producing these distractions from time to time.
So are you saying that if a person comes into office or an administration comes into office and things were done wrongfully before, and I completely agree with you that the picture you have painted is what ought to be, but what is a far cry from what ought to be. So are you saying that when an administration comes in or a person comes in and they're doing the work to return things to what ought to be, we shouldn't applaud them?
No, I'm saying that before they came into office, they actually were the ones who caused the problem.
The
political party that created the problem is his party. The APC has been in power for how many years? 8 years before now. Olubunmi Ojo himself was in the National Assembly. So what is new? These guys are the same guys, the same network of people, the same manpower. So they recruit from that pool. That's where they got all these Betty, Betta and Olubunmi from. They're all part of the APC machinery. This is not the first. We are just hearing about them now because they become a little bit overexposed. This is what they do. Passing money and sharing money. That's what they do in National Assembly. That's what they do at the state levels. That's what they do everywhere. But, they just got overexposed. That's why somebody is flying from Abuja to Lokoja. They must have forgotten that there's no airport there. But that's the culture of impunity. People get so caught up in it, they get away with so much that at times they even forget the minutiae of what is wrong, Otherwise, you would at least remember that you can't fly from Abuja to Lokoja.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's no airport there. Except if there's a seaplane. But then where did it take off from Abuja, to land in the confluence there? But this is what they do, and that's why I'm saying getting things right is not this way. Because this is what we pay for as taxpayers. That's why people get elected and appointed into office. Not to come and show off, is to do things right. And they know they're the ones who caused the problem. So probably that was the reason why they were able to convince people that they are doing the right things, because they caused the problem in the first place. They're the ones who got your passport messed up in such a way that you can't get it. And then they come around and offer a few passports.
Is your argument then that there's nothing to commend,
nothing,
even with the suspension of Betaidu,
it's a revolving door. You remove a Betaidu, there's going to be a better who can still better that will come in. This is what Buhari did when he came into office. The whole initial garagara, as we call it. Oh, this person has been. There was even at that point they used to say that Buhari had body language. He didn't need to speak, and things were falling in place. And then suddenly, look at what the body language turned Nigeria into. So there's always an excuse from us as a people to just make things not work the way they should. Instead of holding people's feet to fire, we start praising little things that don't matter.
Yeah, it might be a trauma response, from the average Nigerian. Because,
no, it's not. What is an average Nigerian looking for? You talk about passport. How many Nigerians travel? How many people need passport? We have 200 million people. We are talking about maybe a few million people who apply to get passports, who can afford to travel. What about the 190 million more who are living on $1 per day? Why are we not talking about them? How about their schools, their roads? I mean, don't you see what is going on? There are people who are stuck in their villages as we speak because they can't afford to come back after Christmas and New Year's. And we are here talking about people who are sharing money and who are still sharing money as we speak. They're going to be sharing money, this money, to the NNPC, customs, immigration. They're going to be stealing money at the central bank this morning. There's going to be money moving around. So they are happy that you are distracted, right? That, there's one Betaidu that's just been suspended and everybody's happy about it. Like I said, there are thousands of Betaidus there. And the big kahuna himself, this is what they used to do in Lagos before they moved to Abuja.
It's a little scary.
Sharing money.
And this is a little scary. And I probably would like to know what, if you were in that position, what would be the first steps to tackle a situation like this? The government, of course, cannot be everywhere at the same time. So
let me tell you a secret on how what is happening has happened. When the TINUBU regime came to power, they enacted a supplementary budget.
Yes.
Huge amount of money was allocated. They must finish that money by March. You understand? So they must finish that money by March. It is that money that's sharing now that got everybody entangled now. And they have a new budget that's coming in. So that money is what they're trying to finish. Are you getting my point? So nobody's talking about this. They must exhaust their supplementary budget. But why set up a supplementary budget only to be stolen? It's what I wouldn't have done as a regime. And I would not have allowed this kind of abuse to take place because, as I always say, before we go to enforcement, we ought to have primary prevention in place. Why should a minister have the power to allocate money to a private account? If that system is still there where you can just take money and hand out to someone, then you are not in government. You're just in power.
So what you're saying is that you wouldn't have gone for the supplementary budget?
What was the need for a supplementary budget when before you came to office, there was already a budget covering 2023. And that budget had not been exhausted. But you came in and put a supplementary budget in place. Part of it was scandalous. You had to go and repair Dodam barracks, buy a yacht. And they said it without beating an eye that they already bought the yacht on credit. Okay. And I was saying, I've never seen TINUBU inside a cane, talk less of being in a yacht. Why are you buying a yacht? But it was when they started the supplementary budget, they had planned what you saw now. And that's why I'm saying the part you saw about Betuedu and TINUBU, that's probably the smallest part of it. The big item budgets with National Assembly that recently increased the budget by themselves by several billions, if not trillions, the sleaze is going on as we speak. It hasn't stopped. It's not like after removing Edu, everybody removed their hands from that cookie jar. Everybody's still stealing. Okay. Yes.
They did give an explanation about the presidential yacht and how it had already been purchased, but it wasn't a yacht in the sense of it being a yacht, but had other functions. We'll come back to that. Let's talk about now cutting the cost of governance.
Yes.
Would you consider the president slicing travel expenditure by 60% as a step in the right direction?
What is 60% is the question the media ought to be asking.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
the Vanguard reported about 15 billion for 2024. I think it was, I'm not sure whether it was the Punch or so, or the Cable that reported about 7 billion or so.
Okay.
So they are conflicting figures, but
exactly.
It runs into billions.
So nobody knows what it is. This is part of what I say is distraction, and people don't ask questions. So when you say 60%, are you cutting the number of people that travel?
Yeah, that's one.
And how many usually should travel?
Yeah, that's why we do not have a clear picture on.
If you are going to the United Nations, for instance, and you take 600 people with you, and you have cut it by 60%, how many people are those? You're still taking with you people who have no business going to the United Nations. So how does that help you? What if you cut it on the surface and you're going to hide it somewhere else, like you did with COP25?
Yeah. 28.
Yes, 28.
Yeah.
You had ministries, departments of government still bringing in people who have definitely nothing to do but to go and collect ESTA codes. So these things are not as clear as they should be. And that's why the media has a role to ask these questions and to keep an eye on them.
I'm hoping that we can actually get across to Ajurin Gelale and he'll be willing to grant us an interview. But let's take a look at his explanation of what exactly is being cut when we refer to travel expenditure being cut by 60%.
It will be conducted in the following fashion. One, the official trips that will be undertaken within the country, that is when Mr. President or the Vice President travels to any state within the country, the massive bills that accrued due to allowances and ESTA code for security detail coming from Abuja, going and traveling into those states, will be massively cut due to the directive of the President that the security outfits within states, whether it be police, DSS, or branches of the military, will frontline his protective detail when he travels to those states. Additionally, when any international travel is being approved, the following limits have been placed on all ministers of the Federation. 4 members of their staff, appointees and the like, will be allowed to travel with a minister on an official trip. For heads of agency, that will be limited to 2 members of staff allowed to travel on an official trip. Furthermore, the numbers that the President has now approved for official travel with him that will apply to his principal staff are as follows. On international trips, the President has directed that no more than 20 individuals be allowed to travel with him. That number will be cut down to 5 in the case of the First Lady. 20 for the President, 5 for the First Lady. Additionally, the number in the entourage on official international trips for the Vice President will be cut to 5. The number that will be limited, the number that will be placed as a limit on the wife of the Vice President is also 5. In terms of local trips, the President has approved a new limit of 25 members of staff.
All right. During Galali, they're breaking down the adjustments to the president's travel team and how, he says has been cut down by 60%. I just want to remind everyone of the convoy that escorted the president to the mosque 2 Fridays ago, I think.
There's another Friday this
Fridays
week.
ago.
Yes.
Exactly. And that was a convoy of, a billion SUVs. So I just to quickly mention that. Mr. I'm sure. So are you impressed with this?
No,
is this,
not at all. So what you don't know, but some of us know, is that when the president is traveling anywhere, he takes with him governors, ministers. He doesn't have control over how many people the governors take with him. So this is how these guys operate. But they also have an advanced team of over 40 people sometimes that will go secure hotels, scan areas, security people. All these people need to be eliminated. Any country where you have an embassy shouldn't need an advanced team. And when they say 4 people need to travel with the minister, why? Why do you need 4 people? Can't the minister travel by himself? When he wasn't minister, he was traveling by himself. Why can't he now travel by himself? But it's beyond just the president. It's a culture of waste in the country. Ask yourself, how many policemen, DSS, soldiers are attached to a governor? Every governor has over 200 of these guys. And all of them, when they're traveling, somehow must be placed on the trip. Whether they're traveling or not, it's all about how to steal, how to share resources. And until these things are comprehensively addressed, you're not going to get, all these ones are just, this is what they told Ngali to go and say. He doesn't know any better. You get my point. And when he's done saying it, the people who are traveling, or some of them who have traveled, have not even come back. Do you know that under this regime, there are ministers in the regime who are serving as coppers?
NYC coppers?
Yes.
Can you share
That's, what's her name? Musawa is a copper. As a minister of youth who has been based in the UK ever since the regime started, somebody is paying for her bills to stay there. We all just came back from the Ondo State scandals, right? Okay. When we were saying that these guys were lying, that Akeredolu wasn't coming back, the media was presenting, some media, not all of it, and I give the credit to you guys, was presenting a different, angle, that the man was recovering, is on his way back, the wife was meeting with House of Assembly members. But we kept saying that, with due respect, based on what we know, this guy is not well enough to return back to power. Handover. Now, that has been resolved, naturally. So when we are telling you these things, these are things we know. Now, what you're hearing or what you're presenting is different from what will happen even as soon as the press conference is over. The president doesn't have control over these people. It's part of a power and money sharing process to travel with the president, so that you can come and get us. He mentioned ESTA. This is all about ESTA codes. And by the next trip, they have planned it, and more people will travel.
Yeah, but isn't it possible that whoever is in charge of the president's itinerary, would then be able to cut down on the number of
Because it's not only one person that's in charge. It's various interests, cabals.
Oh, well, that's a different thing. And there's also the office of the First Lady there that is...
Exactly. Why do we have an office of the First Lady when it's not even constitutional? So people are speaking as if the First Lady has the right to travel. Don't forget that there's a First Lady, there's a first son, and there's a first daughter in the TINUBU regime. All of them have their offices, and you can't cut their travel team.
Well,
this is the first president to have all of that, And I heard he has a first-in-law too.
Really? Are these confirmed?
Of course.
That they are all being paid?
Is it not confirmed that there's a first daughter, there's a first son, Sheyi, and the Yaloja of Lagos, and the husband of one of the daughters they all have offices in Abuja.
Well, that's arguable. Because
it's not arguable. I'm talking to you based on what I know.
All right.
Like I keep reminding you guys, I'm a journalist too, even though I might have come through the back door because I didn't train as a journalist, but as you can respect some of these opinions that are fact-based.
And I'm glad that you mentioned you're a journalist, because I'm sure that that can help with the next question. It's impossible for us to have conversations about the state of the nation without talking insecurity.
Yeah.
We've been hearing of kidnap cases on the increase in Abuja, and there have been unconfirmed reports, I cannot confirm them, of some people saying that they've seen bodies, headless bodies on the express around Ogun State. I've seen a number of comments like that on social media. I cannot confirm them. I don't know if you can. So talk to us about the state of insecurity in Nigeria and what the way forward.
No, this is the reason why I said some of these issues you're saying are just distractions. Because there are serious social-political issues. The people who are behind insecurity are like fully backed in business. Even in our state, Ondo states, you read about how the Amotekun that they set up has been overwhelmed. And yes, there's more kidnapping now. Kidnapping has become a daily occurrence in different parts of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And you're hearing about more armed robberies happening, you know, to even student hostels across the country. And nobody's talking about it. So we're talking about these issues because that's what they throw at you so that they can hide the main issues affecting. So if you are seeing headless bodies, that's because more and more of these guys have been emboldened. Because I guess the problem of security has been abandoned for to share money and to talk about how they're sharing money. It's serious, and nothing has changed. That I think things are getting worse on the security side.
Finally,
we're still talking about Plateau State, where over 200 people were killed, and it's not as if the killings have stopped. There's still a lot of skirmishes going on. They're taking over villages, renaming them, and nobody's talking about this.
Finally, I saw you did a video, you posted a video on Doyo Okukwe and the Labour Party in general. You called it a place for internally displaced politicians. There's still millions of people who have faith in Labour Party, looking forward to 2027, hoping that, of course, they can pull the same energy again. Do you think it's likely to happen again?
I'm not in the Labour Party. The reason I responded that way was because Doyo Okukwe resigned.
Yeah.
And I recall Doyo Okukwe calling me to support the Labour Party. And I was asking myself, if I had respected him enough to join the Labour Party, would it mean that I'll be following him now to his next destination? And I've always described the Labour Party as an Airbnb, short renter. Everybody, they used it in Ondo State before to bring Mimiko into office. After a while, he abandoned and went back to PDP. It's usually where the PDP and APC people go to, where they are disgruntled. And you look at the Labour Party now, and all the elected officials, they are the first set of people to collect the 160 million naira SUVs. So what is it? They just use the party to get whatever they want, and they abandon the party. The video that I shared was before even the Labour Party Peter Obi went to Labour Party, because I had always known that this is what the Labour Party is all about. And I said, Doyo Okukwe has proven us right. So what I'm saying is that all of them are the same. Labour Party, APC, PDP, they call them APC, PDP, LP. AAC is different, yes. AAC would never, if we had anybody in National Assembly, would never have accepted the 160 million. If anybody did, we would have expelled the person from our party. So that's not our ideology.
So in all of this, as quickly as possible, in 30 seconds, is there nothing to be excited about? To say, okay, at least this is the one ray of hope in this administration.
This is January. If you're excited about anything, tell it to the public.
Well, I'm the one asking the question.
Okay, we can assume the role of journalists now. Let's ask ourselves the questions. We're closing the show.
Well,
there's nothing to be excited about. The economy is in shambles. The value of the currency is in shambles. We're talking about insecurity. People have woken up to the reality that nothing has changed. Things have gotten worse. And we're not making it up. This is the daily reality that our people are facing. So you are in a country where minimum wage is still 30,000 naira.
Oh, there's conversations about increasing that. Where we're going to fund it, we're not sure. And,
no, don't let anybody argue about funding. There's more than enough, based on what we're even hearing about how they're sharing money. Doesn't it surprise you that somebody can walk away with 37 billion, there's another 50 billion somewhere? The former Akada General of Nigeria is still 109 billion.
We haven't heard much about that.
Yes. He was detained briefly, and now he's some high-ranking traditional ruler in the north. So there's more than enough to go around. But